Alright, this is Miracle Man issue 2 from the late 80s. The series as made famous by that advert. I have been wanting to come back to this for a while, but what always happens is I do the first issue of Summit, and then I like to have a break between that and the second one, so that I'm not just doing like 5 issues of Avengers in a row. But what ends up happening is, by doing that, I kill my momentum. And whenever I think to do the next issue, I am not in the mood. Or we are at the point where I have already forgotten most of the first one. I actually had to reread issue 1 again before this. And I like it, but I am still mostly impressed by the artwork. Ian Gillan, I think we called him. This guy, he never really did any other art for DC. He did inks, but this is his only penciling for DC. It is really good and interesting. There is a lot of comparisons to make with it, and a lot of influences you can see. But it is a bit insulting to just say this guy is copying a bunch of other artists. This is really good art that melds some traditional chops with a more stylish, almost abstract flair. The first time that I read this series, well, this run, it was years ago, and I thought it was just okay. I felt Jim DeMatteis, the writer of it, never really went anywhere with the setup of suburban superheroes, and he is off the book by issue 7. It always struck me as being something that had already been attempted by Steve Engeltine at Marvel with The Vision and Scarlet Witch. And while Jim DeMatteis is indisputably a superior writer in every way, he never really got this off the ground. His stories on this book are overloaded with other characters from the Eternals, and I just didn't feel like Miracle Man was the solo star of his own solo series. He is in it, but Jim DeMatteis never really made a bid to have him be the obvious focus. Rereading it now, though, I am finding it to be a bit better. Maybe my expectations are set lower, and so it is able to exceed those expectations. Or, more likely, it is because we have seen this exact formula rehashed, ripped off, and done much worse by Tom Queen. In this, there is no ennui, there's no Oedipus complexes with Granny grunts, there is no PTSD. There is some great art, though. The art, I think I can see people not caring for the art or criticising the lack of backgrounds, but I am saying this, it is an artist comfortably doing a mix of strong imagery like this, and then appropriately batshit mental inventive bits like this. The plot here is that Miracle Man is fighting Overmind, And this artwork is... I really like Jim DeMatteis, but I think this art is better than the script really deserves. The art is really holding up Jim DeMatteis' somewhat bland and pedestrian script. Meanwhile, we have the dinner party from hell. Miracle Man's wife, Cersei, is throwing a dinner party, and it is being crashed by a bunch of the Eternals, like Overmind. And we get to see Cersei be a badass. I still didn't like saying badass, but badass just sounds like an insult. And truthfully, Cersei does not have a badass. To be frank, who's Frank? I would have... Maybe the Steve Engeltine comparison is exactly why they didn't do this, but I think calling this Miracle Man and Cersei, or Cersei and Miracle Man, would have been a more honest title. They are very much equal co-stars, at least in these Jim DeMatteis written issues. Down below in the comments, feel free to name some artists like this who did very little work for the big two, but who you wish pursued more work or were given a bigger and better title. This artist I can see working well on Green Lanterns, maybe Wonder Woman, The Flash. I think something that, like this, allows for straightforward stuff, and then some more experimental sidebars with trippy dimensions, or monsters and goblins and evil demons. What is interesting is I have praised the art, but I actually didn't quite like how he draws Miracle Man's mask. The eye holes just seem off to me. I kind of put my finger on what it is about the eyes. It just doesn't look right to me. Here is Miracle Man and Cersei, and I think that is where I will end the review. That has mostly been saying, I like the art. The story has its moments. It's not a totally worthless story. It's just a bit altogether okay. Maybe I recommend it. I don't know. The cover, I think is a bit shit. Just not a very intriguing image. He is fighting cobras. That's not all that exciting. If I wanted to see this shoddy a snake charming act, I would ask Liam Hemsworth around for dinner with his ex-wife. I am implying Miley Cyrus is a reptile. 7 thumbs up.